Hello, and welcome to today's Advanced Roof Design webinar. My name is Kayla, and I will be presenting for you today. And then we also have Stephanie here with us to answer any questions you might have during today's presentation. Before we start our presentation, let's take a look at our GoToMeeting control panel. We do have everyone set up on Use Mic and Speakers. That'll be the default. Everyone is muted today, so you won't need to worry about setting up a microphone. However, if you're having trouble hearing me, go ahead and select this sound check option. It'll help you to troubleshoot your sound. If you still have problems hearing me, you can change the radial option over to telephone. You'll see a phone number and an access code to allow you to dial in and listen in that way. Like I said, we do have Stephanie here with us, so if you have any questions, go ahead and type them into this box here at the bottom of your control panel. Hit enter and you will see her response here below. We do have 5 different Home Designer programs. Today I will be working with Home Designer Professional, and I will mostly be working with options that are only available in that program. We do have another webinar, the Beginning Roof Design webinar, that will go over the automatic roof options for all of the other programs. If you are using Home Designer Professional, I still recommend that you watch that Beginning Roof Design webinar before this one, as it does go over the basics of roof design. So today, we'll start by just generally going over the program and how roofs work within the program. We'll draw out a few roof planes and join them together to create different roof styles manually. Then we'll begin working through several different roof styles that you can only create using our manual roof tools. For instance, a Dutch gable, a clear story, doing a roof that has 3 or more pitches above any given wall, and then some manual dormers, as well as a different method for our 1.5 story building than we did for our Beginning Roof Design webinar. And then we'll finish off by looking at our framing and truss options. And we'll be here for a few minutes after the webinar ends today if you have any additional questions. So let's go ahead and open up our program. So I already have a plan open, as you can see, and basically where we're at in this plan is we've just drawn out 4 walls. So if we take a 3D overview, you can see we have our 4 walls and nothing else. For the majority of today's presentation, I'm going to tile my views vertically. I like to work in such a way that I have my floor plan and my 3D view side by side. So to do that, I'm simply going to grab this tab, hold down until I see that blue exactly where I want it to go, and then I will release to allow those views to be tiled vertically. Then I have the option of increasing my plan size and decreasing the 3D view so that we have a little bit more of a workspace here. So as we know from our Beginning Roof Design webinar, generally the way roofs will operate in the program when we're using our automatic roofs is we open up walls in order to automatically edit the roof planes that lie above them. And we worked a lot with this build roof dialog. So if we were working with automatic roofs, we would have this checked. By default, this is going to be checked in all of our Home Designer programs. So to begin with, if you're wanting to follow along with me, go ahead and uncheck this Auto Rebuild Roofs so that we can have a blank slate to start with. Even though we're not working with our automatic roofs, this is still where we're going to be setting our default pitch. So whatever roof plane I draw out is going to follow the pitch specified in our Build Roof dialog. So we're going to leave it at 8 and 12. The same applies for our overhang as well, and then when we get into our framing options later, you'll see this dialog is important for that as well. So once we have everything set, we can begin to draw out our roof planes. Our roof plane tool is another option under our Build Roof options. If we come down, you can see a shortcut is also Q. So if we hit Q, we can begin to draw roof planes. The way that we draw them is you begin by finding the outside edge of the wall and drawing out our baseline across the edge of the wall. Then, once you have it drawn, and it can be as short or as long as you want to begin with, you release and pull towards the center of the house. You can see it's automatically doing our 18-inch overhang just like we've specified in our Build Roof dialog. And then once you have a general idea, you can click and it'll place that roof plane for us. Like I said, when you're first drawing out a roof plane, it doesn't matter how big or small this particular plane is because we're going to be moving them around and joining them with other roof planes. So for the purposes of right now, we're going to work on a hip roof. So if we don't remember what that is from our previous webinar, that's going to be where we have 4 roof planes that all come together on each wall. So we'll draw out all 4 of our roof planes. We have one along this wall. Let's do on our right wall. Again, draw out our baseline, release, pull back, and click. Draw out our baseline, release, pull back, and click to place. And one last time. And once we have all 4 drawn, now we can begin to connect them. To join 2 roof planes, we're going to select an edge of one of the roof planes. Now it's very important which edge we have selected. You can see this edge has a larger edit handle than any of our other edges, and if we zoom in a little bit we can see that better. So I have this edge selected and you can see these are quite a bit smaller. With that selected, I can come down to my edit toolbar, select Join Roof Planes, and then select the edge of another roof plane where I want them to join. So it creates a nice ridge between them. We'll do the same thing all the way around. Now you'll notice there also is a shortcut for this. Join Roof Planes has a shortcut of 2. So if I select an edge and hit 2, I'm ready to select another edge so the 2 can be joined. If you're going to be working a lot with manual roof planes, that's a very handy shortcut to have. To connect. Now I'm going to connect my top and my bottom roof plane on my plan. So we'll select the top edge, hit 2, and connect the 2. I'm going to do the same thing, only I can select either one of these edges. So if I hit 2 in order to join roof planes, either one of these edges will suffice to create that perfect ridge. So once we've joined all 4, we've finished off our hip roof. Now each and every one of these roof planes can be opened up and modified with our Home Designer Professional program. So you can see we have a lot of very specific specifications. We can specify exactly where our roof plane sits. Now it's very important that we take a look at what each of these mean. So I'm going to get into a slightly different view to do that. Let's take an elevation view. We'll do a cross section and we'll do so just in the middle of this so we can see our roof plane. Actually, let's do a back clipped cross section where we're just taking a clip of our house. Okay, so now when we open up a roof plane, which I'm going to do in 3D at this time, the ridge top height is going to be exactly as it sounds, where the top of the ridge is on our roof plane. Our fascia top height is going to be the top of our fascia on the other end of our roof plane. Our baseline height, which you can see is by default locked, is going to be right where we've placed it on the outer edge of our roof. And like I said, by default that's going to be locked so that every time you move the roof plane, it's going to basically pivot around this point. So if we were to change the pitch, it would change our ridge top height and our fascia top height, but leave the baseline alone. So now let's exit out of here and out of this cross section. So I can open up one of these roof planes and change the pitch to, let's say, 6. Select OK. Now notice it's just going to change that one roof plane. If I want to change all of them at once, we can undo that. I can marquee over all 4 of them, open them up, and let's change it to 6 and 12. Select OK, and you can see it kept all of the ridges all of the roof planes joined together but lowered their pitch. From here, if I decided I wanted to change to a gable roof, we can simply delete each of the ends, grab our two roof planes, and pull them out until we have our gable. Now we're going to get a lot of messages today as we're moving around these roof planes. These are not necessarily error messages, and they're definitely nothing to be worried about. It's just giving us valuable information for us to consider. In this case, it's telling me that there's another roof plane directly below this one, which is valuable to me at this time because it's telling me that I haven't lined up my roof planes correctly. So I'm simply going to select Cancel, and we can see where we're lined up. So we can pull this back a little bit and then snap it again into place. And then we'll pull out the other two ends, and then we're simply going to join these two together. So while we're at this stage, I do want to point out what does happen if we try to use some of our automatic features. So if I were to, for instance, open up this wall and come down to our roof, just like we did in the beginning roof design webinar, and change it to a gable wall or change it back to a hip wall, nothing is going to happen to the roof because we're in our manual mode. Now let's see what happens if I try to go back into my automatic. So if I were to go back and recheck auto rebuild roofs, it's going to give me a message, and again this is one of those very important messages, that any roof surfaces that were created manually will be deleted. Being able to automatically edit our roof planes is a very quick and easy way to get our roof as far as we can. And what I mean by that is change all the walls to gable that you need to, change the pitches easily and efficiently, and rearrange walls and ceiling heights until you have the roof exactly where you want, and you cannot do anything more automatically. And we'll be going through quite a few different roof styles where you do need to switch over to manual. So at that point, you would want to come in here and uncheck. If you were to then switch over to manual and try to go back to automatic, it's going to delete everything that you've done manually. So I'm going to press cancel, so we're not going to get into our auto rebuild roofs, but I did just want to point that out. And there are a couple of exceptions to this rule. For instance, if we exit out of here and open up our wall and then go down to our roof, we still have the ability to do a roof return. So if we were to change this to a full auto roof return, even though we have our automatic roofs turned off, it's still going to put that roof return above the wall. So now before we switch to a different plan, we have the option to actually do a true flat roof. So if I change this pitch to 0, unlike with our automatic options where it's going to default it back to a 1/4 in 12 pitch, this is going to allow us to do an actual 0 in 12 pitch. So if we select OK, we're going to have our flat roof. Obviously not the right material for that, but we have that 0 in 12 pitch. Okay, so next we're going to work on a dicky roof, and we have a different plan that we're going to be doing for that. We're not going to save this because we're going to be opening up this plan again, but let's come up to our plans and open up our template here. So again, we have a plan where we've drawn out all of the walls and we're now ready to work on our roof. So if we take a 3D overview, here's what our plan looks like so far. And this is what we're wanting to eventually do. So a dicky roof is going to have multiple roof planes above each wall. So when we're starting with our automatic roof tools, that's what we're going to keep in mind. It's going to have a very shallow start and then a steeper upper pitch. And then it also has these Dutch gables in a dicky roof, often called witch's caps. So we'll exit out of here and we'll begin working on this plan. So we'll start again with our build roof dialog. We're going to select to build our roof planes and to auto rebuild the roofs. we're going to start with our shallow roof pitch of 3 and 12, and we're going to do a bigger overhang because this is a plan that will require a larger overhang. So let's change it all to a 24 inch. Then we'll select OK, and we have our shallow hip roof. Now I'm going to hold down my control key to select all of my walls. And then we'll open those up, and under our roof we're going to select an upper pitch. We're going to have an upper pitch of 6 and 12, so that's perfect. And we're going to specify that that upper pitch will start on each wall 36 inches in from our baseline. Then we'll select OK. And now we have, let's switch to a glass house so we can see this a little bit better. So now we have our two roof planes, and we're ready to set our Dutch gables. So we'll start with this one here in front. So we'll select this roof plane, and we're going to start just by deleting it. So now we have our message that's telling us we're moving out of our auto rebuild roofs and into our manual roof options. Since we have taken our auto rebuild roofs as far as we can at this point, we're going to say yes, we do want to turn it off and continue with the operation. Now we're going to go up to our second floor and turn on our reference display, which you can also do by selecting F9. From here, we can grab an exterior wall, and we're going to draw out the attic wall that will be for our Dutch gable. So here's another warning message, just saying we're drawing on the attic floor. Generally, the attic is not space where we're going to be drawing things, but since we're just creating an attic wall, it's okay. So we're just going to select OK. Then I'm going to use my nudge tool, my down arrow, to just nudge it as close to this red line as we can get. So we'll do 1 more inch, and we're right there. Now we're going to go back down to our first floor, grab this roof plane, and we're going to grab the edit handle to simply pull it straight down until it crosses the wall. Again, we're going to select cancel to this because I don't want to pivot the roof plane around, I just want the shape to readjust. Now notice as soon as that wall went over, or as soon as the roof plane extended across the attic wall, it automatically cut that attic wall for us, so it's not extending through the roof plane. We'll do the same thing over here, simply pull it down and cancel there. And now we have our Dutch gable formed there. I do want to have a little bit of an overhang though, so I'm just going to pull this out and specify, this time we'll just do a 18 inch even though the rest is, there we go. So we'll type in 18, hit enter. Now with this roof plane, I'm going to pull down and then hold my cursor over until I see that hourglass. Now what that hourglass is telling me, that red hourglass on my plan, is that I have met up with that line. So it's snapping to tell me that these are exactly equal 18 inches from the outer edge of my wall. So now we'll move on to the one that's going to go up here. So we'll select this roof plane, and it's going to go up over in this section. Select the roof plane and simply pull it back until we reach this midpoint. So now we have a hole in that roof plane. Going to do the same thing, go up to the second floor, grab a wall, and draw it out. We're going to select not to show this message. I know that I'm drawing on the attic floor. Then we'll nudge it down 1 inch, go down to our first floor again, only this time I can't simply grab this edit handle and pull it down because it would pull this whole roof plane all the way down to the railing. So we're going to come down to our edit toolbar and select to break line, which allows me to put a break right where it meets up with the wall, and then we're going to put another break up towards where this corner is so that I can pull it straight down and it won't affect any of the other roof plane. select cancel, and pull this out. I think we need to pull this over a little bit too. Then we need to do the same thing here. Put a break up in the corner, pull it down till it crosses over the wall, and then we can pull it out. We're going to hit 2 in order to join these two roof planes together. And we'll use our hourglass to make sure that the two are lined up. Now we do still have one last little hole up in the top ridge, so we'll do the same thing we did for our hip roof earlier, where we'll select the edge, hit 2 to join roof planes, and select one of the two adjoining edges so that it fills in that ridge. And if we zoom out here, we can see our two Dutch gables that we've created. So you can easily create these at any point where a hip roof comes together. So now we'll exit out of this plan, and we're going to open up another one. This time we're just going to go back to that plan we had open earlier with our 4 walls. So now we're going to be doing a clear story roof where we have a wall between 2 roof planes. So we're going to exit out of here and start simply by drawing 2 roof planes. So we'll grab our roof plane tool, draw out the baseline, pull it back. This one I want to dimension exactly 10 feet from the baseline. So I want it to be 10 feet in. And I'm already going to dimension these ones so that they're 18-inch overhangs. Then I'm going to draw another roof plane, just as if we were going to create a gable. And this one we're going to leave relatively close to the baseline. Now we're going to go up to our attic floor, turn on our reference display. We're going to grab an exterior wall and pull it across the plan. And we're going to pull this pretty close to this smaller roof plane. Then we can open it up, and we have an option in our roof panel to select Roof Cuts Wall at Bottom. And the reason why we're doing this, if we open up that picture again, is that we want the roof to cut this wall so it doesn't extend all the way into the floor below. So we're going to select that Roof Cuts Wall at Bottom, select OK. Then we'll come down to our first floor plan, leaving our reference display on so we can see where that wall is. We'll grab this roof plane and we need to pull it across that wall so that this roof plane is cutting that wall at the bottom. So let's grab this wall and we need to pull it across, because as we know, when we have a roof plane that crosses an attic wall above it, it's going to automatically cut it at top. So now that we have that wall selected to be cut at the bottom as well, when we do our 3D view, we have this wall being cut at the top as well as the bottom. And if we go back to our floor plan and open up this room, and under our Structure tab, we're going to remove the ceiling. Now in our overview, we'll get into a glass house so we can see this. We can see that wall a little bit better, and we have the ceiling extending up to meet up with the roof. So we're in a great position to be able to just place a couple of windows to look down into the room. So any type of a clear story can be created by having 2 roof planes that cross over a wall, and with having that option, Roof Cuts Wall at Bottom, selected. So now let's exit out of this plan, and we'll open up that same plan. So now we're going to do a Dutch colonial, or a gambrel with flared eaves at the bottom. So if we're going to take a look at what that looks like, that's going to have 3 separate roof pitches above a single wall. So we're not going to be able to do this automatically, but we're going to start automatically with our gambrel structure. So if we recall from our automatic roofs, Actually, the very first thing we need to do is resize this structure. So let's make it 50 feet long and 40 feet deep. So we're going to make it quite a bit bigger. There we go. Now we're going to get into our Build Roof dialog. We're going to select to build roof planes and turn on our auto rebuild roofs for right now. And we're going to make this a steep pitch to begin with. Let's do a 12 and 12. So we'll select OK, and let's get into a full overview to begin to change this to a gambrel. So first of all, we need to select both the ends and change them to gables. We have a big steep gable. Then we're going to select our top and bottom wall, open them up, and under our roof panel we're going to select an upper pitch of 6 and 12, and it's going to be 120 inches in from the baseline, so quite a ways in. We'll select OK. So we have our steep pitch and then our shallower pitch, 120 inches in on either side. Now from here we've taken this plan as far as we can go automatically because we're going to add in our flared eaves. So we'll come up to our build roof and let's uncheck auto rebuild roofs so we can begin to go manually. Now to add this additional roof plane, we're going to grab the edge of this roof plane and pull it back, and I want it to be exactly 2 feet from its original baseline. Now we're going to draw out another roof plane, baseline matching up, and we'll pull it up to meet up with this roof plane. Then we'll use our hourglass to snap the two edges, and because our default was set at 12 and 12, it's just going to look like it's continuing that exact pitch all the way down. Now we're going to open this roof plane up, and like I said, these two roof planes are already meeting up, so we know that the ridge top height of my smaller roof plane is meeting up with the fascia top height of the top roof plane. In other words, I know that my ridge top height is set, so I'm going to lock the ridge top height of my bottom roof plane so that it continues to meet up with the fascia top height of this second roof plane, because that's exactly where those two roof planes are going to join. Now, the value I want to change is the pitch, so I'm going to adjust my pitch to 6 and 12, and it will automatically update my baseline and fascia top heights without changing my ridge top. So when I select OK, it'll move that roof plane, rotate it around, but leave my ridge top height the same. Just for good measure, I can select the edge, hit 2 to join the two roof planes to make sure that they're joined together. Now I can go through that same process on the other side, or I can just pull this back, specify it at 2 feet from the baseline, select this roof plane, and simply copy and reflect it across my plan to the other side, because I know that these roof planes are the same as these ones, so the values are all going to match up. So if all we were doing was the gambrel with flared eaves, we would be finished at this point. However, for our Dutch colonial, we're also going to be adding a dormer. Now, our automatic dormer tools are not going to work for this plan because we have multiple roof planes. Because we are extending that dormer across those multiple roof planes, we're going to need to draw out our dormer manually. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to create our second floor, because the dormer is going to be up on the second floor, and as we know, if we're planning on having any living space, it can't be in the actual attic as defined by the program. So let's highlight our floor plan, come up to our floor tools, and select Build New Floor. Now notice this option to move the roof over the highest floor up. So let's say theoretically we had created this plan and we had finished all of our manual roofs and we got everything set exactly the way we want, and then we realized we forgot to create a second floor and that the roof needed to sit up above the second floor. We could check this box and it would move the roof planes all the way up to reside above the second floor. That's not what we're doing. We're wanting to create living space underneath the roof, so we're going to leave this unchecked. Select OK. We're going to accept all of our floor and ceiling height defaults for our second floor, and you'll notice our roof stayed exactly where it needed to be. So we're up on our second floor in our floor plan. You can see these dashed black lines that are telling us where our ceiling is at the default we've set. So if we do a glass house of our 3D view, that's telling us the distance from here to here where our ceiling is flat. Now, even though my roof planes are technically, we didn't want to move them up above the second floor walls, I still do want to view them on my second floor floor plan. So I'm going to go down to my first floor where we have all of our roof planes located, and I'm going to grab my roof plane tool or highlight the roof plane tool, hold down my Shift key, and marquee over all of the roof planes. So it's only going to grab roof planes and nothing else. Now for our roof planes, we have a special option to be able to display these on different floors. So I'm going to select to display them on the floor above, which physically is not going to move the location of the roof, but it allows me to display them up on the second floor, which helps me for creating my manual dormer. This also is a helpful tool if you have 2 or 3 floors and they all have different roof planes and you want to edit the roof as a whole. Sometimes moving all of those roof planes onto one level allows you to manipulate them a little bit more easily. Or to move them all to one level so that you can create a roof plan. So the first thing we're going to do for this manual dormer is we're going to come up and grab an interior wall. We're going to draw right along where this wall can meet up with that black line so that our ceiling and our wall come together. Then I'm going to open up this wall and we're going to specify it under our roof options as a knee wall so that it meets up with our roof, but it's not going to ever extend through the roof. Now I'm going to draw my exterior walls to draw out the walls of the dormer itself. So we'll start just by drawing 3 exterior walls for our dormer. And we're going to dimension these so that they are 10 feet from the left and right side, and then only 10 inches from the front. Now this front room we want to open up and we're going to specify it as attic space. So now we have our walls drawn, but we don't have the actual dormer because a dormer is nothing if not a hole in a roof plane. So what do we need to do? We need to create a hole in a roof plane. In order to do that, we're going to grab each of our 2 roof planes and we're going to break the edges right where they meet up with where our dormer is, and then pull it back so that it exposes the wall of our dormer. Then we can do the exact same thing for this one. However, what I'm going to do is simply pull this out and then copy and reflect that section so that it divides it into 2 separate roof planes, so they're not connected in the middle. So now that we have the hole placed for our first floor roof planes, we need to actually draw out the roof for the dormer itself. So we'll come and draw out a roof plane. Now it's going to ask us, because it sees that there's another roof plane below it, do we want to draw the baseline, which is where our roof plane is going to pivot around? Do we want to draw that over the wall top or over the existing roof plane? In other words, should it sit here or should it sit down here? We're going to be changing quite a bit, but we'll start with it over the wall top and select OK so that it's extending all the way up. Now, the one thing that I do know is that I need the ridge top height of my dormer roof plane to meet up with the fascia top height of this roof plane here. So we're going to open up this roof plane so that we can find out exactly what that fascia top height is. In this case, it's 237 5/16 inches. Instead of trying to remember that, I'm going to highlight it and press Ctrl-C so that it copies it so I can paste it into my other roof plane. So we'll cancel out of here. We're not editing anything about this roof plane. But then let's open up this one after we extend it across to either side of the dormer. Let's open it up, and we know that that value is going to need to go into the ridge top height. But before I simply paste it into there, I need to figure out what I want to lock. In other words, which value I want to stay the same. If I know that I want the baseline to stay there because I need that wall to be exactly that height, then I would leave the baseline height locked. So for right now, let's do that. Let's paste that value into the ridge top height, and that's going to give us a pitch of 1 1/4 in 12. Now before I do anything else, I'm going to lock my ridge top height because I know no matter what, this needs to stay that value. Now I'm going to adjust my pitch to 3 and 12 because I actually don't care where the baseline is, but I know I want a 3 and 12 pitch. Then I'll move my cursor into any of the others, or you could hit Tab and it's going to automatically adjust our baseline and fascia top height. Then we'll select OK. You can see it's moved our roof pitch accordingly. So when we're working with those manual roof planes and we're joining them together, it's very important to pay attention to those values so that you know where you want those to connect. So now all that we need to do is break this wall and pull it back, and that finishes off our manual dormer. So if we take a 3D view from inside, we can drop in a window and see it on both sides. So we have additional living space up in our attic. So now let's exit out of this plan and let's address a different way to create living space in our attic with an entirely different plan. So we'll open up the same template here, and we'll just resize this building for the sake of this particular plan. It doesn't matter exactly what the dimensions are, but just a little bit bigger. So what we want now, so we can see it, is I want to create living space in my attic that the roof is set at 2 different points. So here the roof meets up with our first floor, and here it's actually 40 inches higher. So we'll exit out of here and get started working on that. So on our first floor, we're going to begin simply by drawing a wall in between here, and I do want it to be a 6-inch wall because it's going to be a load-bearing wall and there's going to be a 6-inch wall above it, but I don't want any siding on it. So we'll start by opening up this exterior wall, and under our wall types, let's change it to an interior 6 instead. Select OK. Now let's build our second floor. So we'll come up to our floor tools, build new floor. At this point we are going to derive the second floor plan from the first floor, and we'll select OK. And of course if we get into our 3D view, we're going to have 2 stories. Now we're going to build our roof, but we have an option to ignore the second floor. So that's what we're going to do. Let's ignore our second floor. We'll select OK. First we need to actually select to build our roof. Select OK. And we're going to select a gable. Go down to our first floor because we're ignoring our second. Change it to a gable on either side. And now I want to again display my roof planes on a higher floor. So let's do that. At this point, I actually am going to turn auto rebuild roofs off. We've established a gable, and that's as far as we needed to go right now with our auto rebuild roofs. So we'll select yes, and we'll go up to our second floor, and we're going to draw a wall, an exterior wall, exactly above the wall below it. So let's put that down there. And now I know that I need to have these two roof planes be higher than these two, except right now it's all just one roof plane. So we're going to split it in two. Let's pull this one back so that we have two different floors. Now we're going to draw out two more roof planes beside them. And by default it's going to put them over the wall top. So if we were to just leave it like this, we would essentially have two floors. However, we want to have living space above our attic. So let's combine these two together and then we'll figure out what we need to do to get to that place. So the first thing I need to do is I need to change the roof pitch of all four of these roof planes. So let's select them, all four of them, open them up, and let's change our pitch to 12 and 12. So quite a bit steeper. Then I'm going to select these two roof planes and open them up, and we want our pitch to stay the same. What we need to do is lower our baseline. So let's lock our pitch and let's lower our baseline down all the way to 180. Then we'll select OK. And now we have two roof planes that are at 180, and I want these two roof planes to be exactly 40 inches below that. So I'm going to select these two roof planes, open them up. We're going to again lock the pitch, and let's change this to 140. Select OK, and it's going to raise them up slightly. So now we can see by our dashed lines we have quite a bit of living space underneath both of these rooms. And if we were to drop in a dormer, which we'll just do it the automatic way this time, we'll drop in our auto dormer, and then we can take a look. We'll make this a little bit bigger so we can see it. If we take a look inside this room, because we've drawn out an exterior wall, we have siding inside this room. However, I don't want to open it up like we did on the floor below and change it to an interior 6 because we need siding for the exterior portion of this wall. Instead, let's select this wall, open it up, and we have an option in our roof panel to select a lower wall type if the wall is split by a budding roof, which it is in this case. So we can select this and change to an interior 6 on the inside. So when we select OK, it changes to drywall on the inside of my wall, but we maintain our siding on the exterior. So if you have the type of structure where you have a single wall that needs to have both siding and drywall on it, that's a great option to be able to do so. So now let's exit out of this plan, and we're going to move on to work with some of our framing options. So let's open up this template plan again. Now with our roof framing, there are actually 3 different dialogues that we need to pay attention to. The first, like always, is our build roof dialog. And this is going to work in the same way that it did with our pitch and our overhang earlier. So we can begin by setting our defaults for our framing options. So in this case, all of our defaults are going to be set based on the assumption that we're stick framing our roof. So you can see the depth of our rafters are set at 9¼ inches. So if we know exactly how our roof planes are going to be set up, or how our roof framing, excuse me, is going to be set up, we can adjust all of these dimensions right away before we even build the roof. And there are quite a few options under our roof panel here that are also important for this. So for instance, whether or not we're going to be raising our framing off of the sill plate, or whether or not we're going to be creating a bird's mouth. So if we're going to be doing a truss, obviously we're not going to be having our bird's mouth cut, and later when we do a truss we'll raise this off our plate. However, for right now we're just going to leave everything as it is and accept all of our defaults. So we'll select OK, and actually let's go ahead and just automatically build our roof at this time, and we're going to change it to a gable right to begin with. And let's get into, nope, so let's leave it at our plan view. So the next dialog that we need to pay attention to is our roof plane dialog. So if we were to open up each individual roof plane, just like how we can adjust our pitch after our roof plane has been drawn, we can still adjust the framing. So if we know that half of our roof is going to be framed just a little bit differently than the rest, you have the option to open up each roof plane individually and adjust the framing for those. Now we're going to accept everything the way it is and select OK. In fact, we don't even need to turn off automatic roof planes, we can just leave it the way it is. So the next very important dialog to pay attention to is our build framing dialog. So let's open this up. And let's begin going through each of these dialogues, and we'll just accept the defaults for our ceiling and wall framing. And did we get our floor framing? There we go. And then let's come down to the roof panel. Now keep in mind that this information, if you were to change any of this information, it's not going to override what we've already set for our roof plane specification. So if we've changed it there, this is not going to change anything. So we'll select to build our roof framing and select OK. And I don't want floor joists to display, I don't want our sill plates or our rim joists in this view. No to ceiling, no to wall, but yes, I do want roof rafters. So here's our roof framing plan in our plan view. And if we take a cross-section view, let's do a back clipped again. Now I do need to turn on all of my layers, so we'll come up to our framing options, and let's make sure, let's just turn on all of our framing layers so we can see what's going on. Select OK. So here we can see a cross-section of our stick framed roof, including our sill plates and where it's meeting up with our wall. And we'll contrast that. So we're going to start all the way from scratch, and we're going to do a truss framed roof. So to do that, we really do need to start from square one. So let's come up to Edit, Delete Objects. There it is. And we're going to do all floors. We're going to delete all of our roof planes. Yes, we are going to turn those off. We're going to delete all of our roof framing and our wall framing as well. We'll click Delete, Done, and now let's get back into our step one of our Build Roof dialog. So yes, we are going to automatically build our roofs again, and this time we're going to select that we're doing a truss, only I'm going to deselect our automatic, and we're going to raise it 8 inches off of the plate. Then we don't need to worry about our framing tab, because these options are all there if we're going to be stick framing. So we'll select OK. Then let's go ahead and draw out a truss. So we'll come up and draw our roof truss. Simply click and place that across. Yes, I do want to display that in this current layer. And let's take a cross-section view of this. So here we have our truss, and it's sitting exactly where our ceiling is in our plan. Now let's open this up, and we have quite a few options with our roof truss specification as well. First of all, it is establishing a king post already, but if we wanted to, we could require one. If this was an end truss, we could click this, and let's see what that does. So it's going to automatically create our end truss, and we could drag it to the end of the wall. We're going to deselect end truss, but we are going to select this energy heel. So what that's going to do is it takes off the framing that was going through to the fascia, because obviously we're not going to be having wood going on below the roof. And these are polylines, so we can adjust these. We can change where they're locating. We can move them all around. We can break lines and adjust them from there. Or if we get back to our floor plan, and let's delete this truss at this time, and let's draw in a ceiling plane. So instead of a roof plane, we have an option for a ceiling plane. Again, the baseline for this would be on the outer edge. We can turn off automatic roofs at this time to draw out our ceiling plane. And let's adjust this pitch to 6. Let's do 4 in 12. Then we'll pull it to the inside edge of each of these walls. Pull it out, and let's copy and reflect it about the center, and then join these two together. So now I'm going to remove the ceiling from the roof, which is just going to remove that flat ceiling and I'll expose our vaulted ceiling for us. And if we draw out a truss and get back into our cross section, it's going to automatically our scissor truss for us. So it takes into account our ceiling each time that we create a truss. And again, I do just want to point out that these are malleable, so we can move them all around and adjust how these are building. This is just by default how it's creating our truss. So if it doesn't look exactly like the trusses you're going to be building, you can absolutely adjust them. And while we don't have time today, if we were creating a truss for a hip roof, it would automatically account for our hip, and we do have options to accommodate for that as well. But that pretty much wraps up all of our roof design today. So now I just want to show you a few things on our website, homedesignersoftware.com. So this is our website, and if we look under products, here's where we have a list of all 5 of our Home Designer programs. And under Product Chooser, this is going to explain the differences between the different programs. And if we scroll down a little bit, we're going to get a step-by-step, point-by-point for the differences between all of the different programs we offer. So again, we were working with Home Designer Professional today, and most of what we did in the Advanced Roof Design webinar is only going to be available in that version. Again, under Products, we do have a free trial download. And we have a download of both our professional and our architectural version. So if you wanted to try out the architectural to see if that's going to have too many limitations for you in terms of the roof, you can absolutely do so. You can download the professional as well and try them both out. If we go under our User Center, here's where we're going to find some of our training options. So we have a number of training videos that are going to walk us through various things within the program, and it'll tell you which version it applies to. So if you were to look up roof framing, it would tell you that it only applies to the professional version. We do also have more training webinars like the one you're watching now, so if you wanted to sign up for those, that's where you can do so. If you look at our samples gallery, here's where you can check out sample plans and renderings for design inspiration. And we do have additional catalogs and content that you can download here. Our user forum is a fantastic way for users to connect and share ideas or ask questions about how to complete a design. And finally, under our support tab, we have our knowledge base. This is a fantastic resource. All of our articles, which we have over 500 of, are divided into different categories. So if you just wanted to learn more about roofs, for instance, you can see we have 40 different articles for you to browse. Or if you had something a little bit more specific, like a Dutch colonial, or a Dutch hip rather, it'll open up an article explaining how you can create those. So I want to thank you so much for attending today's demonstration. We do have a 30-day money-back guarantee on all purchases of our software, including upgrades, and we do have upgrade discounts available from older versions. So if you have an older version of our software, or if you have architectural, for instance, and you wanted to upgrade to professional, we give you credit to do so. I do encourage you to go online and check out all of those help resources, especially if you want to learn a little bit more about roof options. If you need help choosing a product or determining which one is going to be right for you, please give us a call or send us an email. Our number and email are here below. Thank you again for attending. If you have any other questions, go ahead and type those in. Stephanie will be available for a few more minutes. Otherwise, have a wonderful day.